Hello, this is Jeff Hamrick at the University of San Francisco's Financial Analysis program. I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes about implementing a moving average smoothing in Stata. What I've got here is the beer data that we've been using in class. Remember that this data is on a month-by-month basis in some country that I can never remember, maybe Belgium, maybe Australia. We might want to use a moving average model to actually produce forecast of these data, or to kind of obtain the trend associated with the time series so that we can then apply a SORIMA type model on the errors around that trend. A moving average model is one way to do this. Let's talk about a couple of examples of moving average models that we could fit in Stata. So the command that we're going to use in Stata is tsmooth. That's the general time series smoothing command in Stata. After tsmooth, you put the name of the smoother you want to use. For a moving average process, that's an MA smoother. And then you declare a name for the smoothed representation of the time series that you're hoping to create, maybe SM1. And I'm acting on the raw set of data beer, so that's the syntax that you use. SM1 is the smoothed representation of the beer time series. Okay, afterwards you put some options. There are a couple of different ways to set options for the tsmooth MA function or MA command. One is to use the window command, and here's that command, how that command works. If I do, let's say 301, sorry, no commas, what this means is that you should use the 3 days prior to the current day and 1 day in the future and average those four values to obtain a smoothed representation of the time series on the current day. So notice that what Stata prints out for us is exactly that formula. It takes 3 days ago plus 2 days ago plus 1 day ago plus 0 times the current day plus 1 day into the future, and it averages those four things. Why only 4? Because this one doesn't really count since it's getting multiplied by 0. And then this is the formula for the moving average smoothing of the time series. Now when you use the tsLine function to look at the smoothed version of the time series with the raw version of the time series, it's kind of hard to separate the two out. So if we add a conditional after the application of tsLine, what we can see, for example, is the action of the time series a little bit more clearly. So as the time series rapidly changes, the moving average changes with it. It's not a representation of the time series that will be useful for forecasting because it depends explicitly on future days, xt plus 1, which we presumably would want to be forecasting in the first place. So that's one way that you can use the moving average smoother in Stata. Another option that you've got is to create an explicit set of weights. So if I want to create another smoothed representation of the time series called SM2, I could use the command called weights. And here's how weights works. Suppose I use the command 1/4 bracket 5 and then 4 space 1. Okay, what does this mean in Stata? So this means that the current day, the angle brackets around the other two pieces of the argument in the middle here, what that means is that the current day is going to get 5 times as much weight as the base day. Tomorrow we'll get 4 times as much weight as the current day. Okay, I'm sorry, we'll get 4 times as much weight as the base day, which is less than the weight applied to the current day. And 2 days into the future, we'll get the base weight of 1. Okay? Then what will the immediately prior days, what weights will they get? They'll get the weights 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. That is, yesterday we'll get 4 times the weight of the base day. 2 days ago we'll get 3 times the weight. 3 days ago we'll get 2 times the weight. And 4 days ago we'll get the base weight, which is just equal to 1. Now you might say we can't use those weights because they don't sort of add up to 1. But that's okay. Stata understands this. Oops, I misspelled smooth. Stata understands this and will normalize the sum of the weights so that the effective sum of the weights is equal to 1. Okay? And once again, we get a formula that tells us exactly what kind of smoothing is being done here. 4 days ago gets 1 times the weight as, for example, today, which gets 5 times as much weight. But, of course, in order to have all the weights add up to 1, we divide by 20 on the outside. Once again, we can use tsLine perhaps with a conditional to make it a little bit easier to see the impact of this smoother. Okay, this smoother, perhaps because it uses a lot of weight on a future day, tends to catch up with the data as the data changes rapidly a little bit more quickly than our prior smoothed representation of the data, SM1. Now notice that both of these time series smoothings that we created, SM1 and SM2, are no good for forecasting because they use future dates. So most moving average smoothings that are done involve only prior days, or perhaps prior days and the current day. So that's something to keep in mind while you use TS Smooth in Stata. This is my quick introduction to the moving average smoothing process in Stata. Do let me know if